7 years into my architecture career, and I've yet to design a single thing that actually matters. Shopping centers, office parks, apartment complexes indistinguishable from one another, buildings stripped of soul, of character, of any real story to tell. I work at Yates and Hale Architecture in Chicago, a firm essentially in the business of making the world a touch more generic with every project. I'm competent at this work, competent enough that my boss, Andrew Yates, has started dropping hints about a promotion, junior partner, my own office, a substantial raise. I should feel something like excitement. Instead, every morning I wake up feeling like I'm slowly suffocating. Has anyone here ever felt trapped inside the wrong life? One that looks correct on paper, but feels fundamentally off in your gut? Tell me about it in the comments. And if stories about second chances, unexpected turns, and finding where you actually belong appeal to you, hit subscribe and the notification bell so you catch what's next. Everything shifted on a Wednesday morning in early October. I was at Brewster's, my usual coffee shop 2 blocks from home, working on renderings for yet another forgettable office building, trying and failing to care about sight lines and parking ratios. The shop was nearly deserted, just me, the barista, and an older woman seated near the window. I barely registered her at first, just another customer. Then she rose and walked directly to my table. "Excuse me." I glanced up. She looked to be in her late 60s, gray hair pulled back, hands trembling slightly, eyes carrying a sadness that felt deep, almost bottomless. "Can I help you?" I asked. She sat down across from me without waiting for permission. "You don't know me," she said, voice quiet but steady. "But I need to tell you something." Discomfort settled over me immediately. "I'm sorry, I don't. In 3 days, something will happen. You'll have a choice to make." She leaned in. "Choose the unexpected." Here. "What?" 3 days. "A choice. Choose the unexpected." She stood. That's all I needed to say. "Wait, what are you talking about?" But she was already heading for the door, pausing once at the threshold to glance back at me, and then she was gone. I sat there, baffled, unnerved. What had that even been? I tried returning to work, couldn't focus. That woman, her grieving eyes, her shaking hands, 3 days, a choice, choose the unexpected. It sounded lifted straight from a bad film. At the office, I mentioned it to my colleague Derek. "Dude, you got approached by a crazy person," he laughed. "Welcome to city living." She didn't seem crazy. She seemed, I don't know, certain she's crazy. Derek returned to his screen. "Forget about it." I couldn't, though. I tried working on the office building project, but my thoughts kept circling back to her. Choose the unexpected. What did that even mean? Andrew called me into his office that afternoon. "Travis, I wanted to give you a heads up. The partners are meeting next week. We're going to officially offer you junior partnership." This was supposed to thrill me, the culmination of 7 years of effort. "That's great," I said, my voice sounding hollow even to my own ears. Andrew noticed. "You don't seem excited." "No, I am. Just processing." "Travis, this is a big deal. Junior partner at 31? Most people don't make it until their 40s. "I know. Thank you, Andrew." But walking back to my desk afterward, I felt nothing at all. That evening I had dinner with my parents, Paul and Marla Barrett, the people who adopted me at 6 months old. They're good people, genuinely the best, having given me everything I could have asked for. I'd always known I was adopted. They never concealed it, told me as soon as I was old enough to understand. "You were chosen," Mom used to say. "We picked you because we loved you the moment we saw you." Over meatloaf and mashed potatoes, Mom asked, "You seem distracted, honey. Everything okay?" "Yeah, just work stuff. Your father and I were talking. When are you going to start looking for a house? That apartment is too small. You need space. Maybe think about settling down." I was 31, single, living in a studio apartment, apparently behind schedule by everyone's standards. "Something weird happened yesterday," I said, and told them about the encounter, the strange warning, the unsettling certainty in her voice. Dad frowned. "Sounds like a scam. Probably trying to set you up for something. Don't engage." "I'm not going to. It was just weird." Mom touched my hand. "There are a lot of troubled people in the city, sweetie. Just be careful." I nodded, but couldn't shake the sense that it hadn't been a scam at all. It was something else entirely, something I didn't yet understand. I woke early the next morning, anxious, heart racing. Today is the day, I thought, with no idea why I felt so certain, yet certain nonetheless. I went to work, tried acting normal, flinched every time my phone rang. At 2:47 p.m., it happened. Unknown number. Hello, Mr. Travis Barrett? Yes. My name is Gerald Foster. I'm an attorney in Crescent Bay, Washington. I need to speak with you about an inheritance. My stomach dropped. I'm sorry, what? You've inherited property from Dorothy Sullivan. Can you come to my office to discuss the details? Dorothy Sullivan. The name meant nothing to me. I think you have the wrong person. Are you Travis Michael Barrett, born March 14th, adopted through Seattle Children's Services? My mouth went dry. Yes. Then I have the right person. Mr. Barrett, this is sensitive. I prefer to discuss it in person. Can you fly out this week? I don't understand. Who is Dorothy Sullivan? A pause. She's her biological grandmother. I called in sick the following day, booked a flight to Seattle for the morning after, rented a car, drove 2 hours to Crescent Bay, a small coastal town I'd never even heard of. Gerald Foster's office occupied a converted Victorian downtown. He was in his 60s, kind-eyed, gentle-voiced. Mr. Barrett, thank you for coming. I need to understand what's happening. He gestured to a chair, sat across from me, pulled out a file. Dorothy Sullivan passed away 2 days ago. She left everything to you. I don't know her. I know. But she knew you. He opened the file, produced a photograph. My breath caught. The woman from the coffee shop, the one who'd warned me. That's her, I whispered. You've met. 3 days ago. She came up to me at a coffee shop in Chicago. Said something about a choice. Gerald's expression softened. That sounds like Dorothy. She had a way of knowing things. Who was she? And then he explained everything. Dorothy Sullivan was my biological grandmother. My biological mother, her daughter Melissa, had gotten pregnant at 15. The father, a boy from school, vanished the moment he learned the news. Melissa's own father, Dorothy's husband, had died 3 months before Melissa gave birth, and then Melissa herself died during childbirth, complications, at just 16 years old. Dorothy, 36 at the time, freshly widowed and having just lost her only child, found herself suddenly responsible for a newborn. She tried, Gerald said quietly. For 2 weeks, she tried to take care of you, but she was drowning in grief. She'd lost her husband, lost her daughter. She was working 2 jobs just to survive. So she gave me up. Yes, through an agency in Seattle, Open Adoption. She got updates, photos twice a year until you turned 18. I sat absorbing this. My whole life I'd known I was adopted, but never why. She spent 31 years regretting it, Gerald continued. She'd built a life here, bought a small inn, worked herself to the bone, but she never forgave herself for giving you away. Then why didn't she contact me? Shame, guilt, fear that you'd hate her. He paused. And then 6 months ago, she was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. Terminal. The doctors gave her 4 to 6 months. My throat tightened. She wrote her will, left everything to you. And a week ago, she did something I advised against. She flew to Chicago, found you, watched you. She was following me. For a few days, she wanted to see the man you'd become. And what she saw, he pulled out a letter, handed it to me. Dear Travis, I watched you for 5 days. Saw you go to work. Saw you sit alone at coffee shops. Saw the way you looked at buildings, not with love, but with resignation. You look so much like your mother. Her eyes, her smile when you do smile, which isn't often enough. I am dying. I have weeks, maybe days, and I need to do one thing before I go. I need to give you a choice, the choice I didn't give myself. I spent 31 years living a half-life, working, surviving, punishing myself. I built something here and in a home, but I never let myself be happy because I didn't think I deserved it. You're doing the same thing. I can see it. You're living someone else's idea of a good life, but you're not living your life. So I'm giving you everything. The inn, the property, the choice. You can sell it. Take the money. Go back to your safe, predictable life. Or you can choose the unexpected. Come here. Build something. Find out who you are when you're not trying to be what everyone expects. I can't give you back the 31 years we lost, but I can give you this. Choose the unexpected, Travis. It's the only thing I regret not doing. Your grandmother, Dorothy. I read it 3 times, tears streaming. The Inheritance, Gerald said, is an inn called the Driftwood Inn, 12 rooms, 3 acres on the coast. It's been appraised at $900,000. I couldn't speak. There's also $50,000 in her bank account that she asked to share between you and another person. And this, he handed me a key. She wanted you to have it. No strings attached. You can sell it tomorrow if you want, or you can go see it. The inn is still operating. Dorothy's assistant manager, Haley Patton, has been running it since Dorothy got too sick. She's expecting you. I held the key, felt its weight. Choose the unexpected. Mr. Barrett, Gerald said gently. Dorothy told me about your meeting at the coffee shop. She said, I'm going to tell him to choose the unexpected, and then I'm going to give him something worth choosing. She died 2 days ago. Yes, 1 day after she went into hospice. She held on just long enough to make sure the will was processed. I closed my eyes. She'd warned me. She'd known. I called Andrew that night. Travis, where are you? You missed 2 days of work. I'm in Washington. I need to take some time off. Time off? Travis, we're about to make you partner. I know, and I'm grateful. But something's come up. Family stuff. How much time? I don't know yet. A week. Maybe more. A long pause. Travis, if you're not serious about this partnership, I need to figure some things out. Andrew, I'll call you next week. I hung up before he could respond. Crescent Bay turned out to be beautiful, small, coastal, the kind of town where strangers wave and genuinely mean it. The Driftwood Inn sat perched on a cliff above the Pacific, weathered cedar siding, a wraparound porch, gardens that had seen better days but kept stubbornly blooming anyway. It was the most beautiful building I'd ever laid eyes on. I walked inside. A bell chimed overhead. The lobby felt cozy, worn but loved, a fireplace, mismatched furniture that somehow worked, the smell of coffee mixed with salt air. A woman stood behind the front desk, late 20s, dark hair pulled into a messy bun, tired eyes. She looked up, and her expression went cold instantly. You're Travis Barrett. Yes. You must be Haley. I am. Her voice was ice. You have a lot of nerve showing up here. I blinked. I am sorry. 31 years. She waited 31 years, and you couldn't even come see her before she died. I didn't know she existed. Right, because you never bothered to look. My jaw tightened. I was adopted at 6 months old. I had no idea who my biological family was. I found out she existed the same day she died. Haley's expression flickered, doubt, surprise. She never told me that. She didn't tell me a lot of things either. We stared each other down, the tension thick enough to cut. Finally, Haley sighed. She left you everything. The inn, the property, all of it. I know. So what are you going to do? Sell it? Cash out? I don't know yet. Of course you don't. She turned away. Your room is upstairs, second door on the left. Breakfast is at 8. Checkout is at 11, whenever you decide to leave. She disappeared into the back office, slammed the door. I stood there holding my duffel bag. This was going to be harder than expected. That night, sleep eluded me. I walked the property. 12 rooms total, half occupied by guests who'd booked months ahead. The building itself was structurally sound but badly in need of updates, roof repairs, new plumbing, fresh paint, gardens needing serious attention, the dock down by the water visibly rotting. But beneath all the deterioration, I could see it potential, beauty, soul, the kind of place that could become something truly special, the kind of project I'd always wanted to take on but never had the chance to. The next morning, I found Haley in the kitchen, arguing with Rita, the older cook. We can't keep running this place on fumes, Haley was saying. The roof is leaking. The water heater died last week. We need, she spotted me, stop talking. Morning, I said. Morning. Still cold. Can we talk? She hesitated, then nodded. We sat on the porch, ocean waves crashing below. I'm not here to sell, I said. Haley looked at me. What? I'm not selling. Not yet, anyway. I want to understand what this place is first. Why? Because my grandmother gave it to me, and I think I owe it to her to at least try to understand why. Haley's expression softened slightly. You're an architect, right? That mentioned that. Yeah, how did she know? She kept track of you. Had articles you'd written, projects you'd worked on. She was proud of you. My throat tightened. She didn't even know me. She knew enough. Haley looked out at the ocean. That took me in 8 years ago. I was 21. Broke. Running from a bad situation. She gave me a job, a room, a life, and half of the money she had in her bank account. She sounded like a good person. But she was also sad. Every year on your birthday, she'd close herself in her room. Cry. She never told me why until she got sick. What did she say? She just said she'd made the hardest choice of her life, and she'd spent 3 decades wondering if it was the right one. Didn't give any details. We sat in silence. Finally, Haley said, "If you're serious about not selling, we need help. The inn is barely holding together." "I can see that. Can you fix it?" I looked at the building, the peeling paint, the sagging porch railing, the beauty underneath. "Yes," I said. "I think I can." I called Andrew the next day. "I'm not coming back," I said. "Travis, what are you talking about?" "I'm staying in Washington. Ian headed to the inn. I'm going to restore it." "You're throwing away your career for a building?" "I'm an architect, Andrew. I've spent 7 years designing buildings I don't care about. This is a building I care about. You're making a mistake." "Maybe, but it's my mistake to make." I hung up, and for the first time in years, I felt like I could actually breathe. Over the next 3 months, I poured myself entirely into the inn. I hired Gordon, a local handyman, for the heavy lifting, re-roofed the building, fixed the plumbing, restored the porch, replanted the gardens. Haley watched skeptically at first, but as progress mounted, her attitude shifted. She began offering suggestions, helping with design decisions. We worked side by side, me with blueprints, her with operational knowledge, and slowly something changed between us. The coldness thawed. We started actually talking. She told me about her life before Dorothy, an alcoholic father, a mother who looked the other way the night she finally ran. I told her about growing up adopted, always grateful, but also quietly wondering about my own history. On a rainy afternoon in January, I discovered a box in Dorothy's old office. Letters, dozens of them, all addressed to me, none ever mailed. I sat on the floor and read every single one. "Dear Travis, you're turning 5 today. I wonder what you look like. If you're happy, if you know you're loved. Dear Travis, you're starting high school. I hope you're finding your passion. Your mother loved to draw. Maybe you do too. Dear Travis, you graduated college. I'm so proud of you, even though you'll never know me." 31 years of letters. I cried until I couldn't breathe. Haley found me there, sat beside me, read one of the letters. "She loved you," Haley said softly. "She never stopped loving you. I wish I'd known her." "Me too." Haley took my hand. "But Travis, she gave you a choice, a chance to start over." I looked at her and realized I'd fallen in love with her, with this place, with this entire new life. It was late February when everything between Haley and me finally came to a head. We'd been working together 4 months by then, the inn nearly ready to reopen, the repairs almost complete, and I was quietly falling apart inside because I was in love with her completely, hopelessly in love with Haley Patton, with no idea how she felt and too terrified to ask. It happened on a Thursday night. We just finished painting the last guest room. Haley had paint streaks in her hair. I probably had some on my face too. "That's it," she said, setting down her brush. "All 12 rooms done. You're incredible, you know that." She laughed. "I'm covered in paint. Still incredible." She looked at me, something shifting in her expression. "Travis, come with me," I said suddenly. "I want to show you something." I led her down to the dock, the one I'd rebuilt with Gordon over 3 weeks in January. The sun was setting, pink and orange spilling across the water. "It's beautiful," Haley said softly. "That's not what I wanted to show you." I pulled out my phone, opened the photos. "Look, a before and after comparison. The inn 4 months earlier, run down, peeling, sad, and the inn now, restored, vibrant, alive." "We did that," I said. "You did that." "No, we. You told me what Dorothy loved about this place. You helped me understand what to preserve and what to change. This wasn't just me." Haley stared at the photos, then at the inn behind us. "She would have loved it," she whispered. "I wish she could have seen it." She did. In her head. When she decided to leave it to you. Haley turned to me. "She knew you'd do this." Somehow she knew. We stood there close, too close. I could smell her shampoo, something floral, could see the paint streak on her cheek, could feel the pull between us that had been building for months. Haley, I need to tell you something. Travis, don't. I have to, because if I don't say it now, I'm going to lose my nerve. I took a breath. When I first got here, you hated me. I didn't hate you, you did. And you had every right to. But somewhere between the roof repair and the garden replanting and 1,000 cups of coffee at 3 in the morning, I fell in love with you. Haley's eyes went wide. Travis, I know this complicates things. I know we work together, and this is probably the worst timing, and maybe you don't feel the same way. But I had to tell you, because every day I don't tell you feels like lying. Silence, just the sound of waves against the dock. Haley looked down, away from me. My heart sank. I'd ruined everything. I'm sorry, I said quickly. I shouldn't have. I was 21 when I met Dorothy, Haley said quietly. I just left home. I had $200 in a duffel bag. I was sleeping in my car. I stayed quiet, let her talk. I came into the driftwood and looking for work. Any work. Cleaning rooms, washing dishes, anything. Dorothy took one look at me and said, "When's the last time you ate?" Haley smiled sadly. She made me lunch. Let me take a shower, gave me a room. And then she said, "You're safe here. Whatever you're running from, it can't reach you here." She saved you. She did more than that. She taught me what family could be. People who love you because they choose to, not because they have to. Haley finally looked at me. When she told me about you, I was angry. Angry that she'd had this grandson out there and never got to know him. Angry that she'd suffered alone. Angry that you didn't know how incredible she was. I was angry too when I found out. But then you came here, and you weren't what I expected. She stepped closer. I thought you'd sell immediately. Cash out. Most people would. But you stayed. You worked. You listened when I talked about Dot. You cared about preserving what she built. Of course I did. No, not of course. Most people wouldn't. But you did. Haley's voice cracked. And somewhere between watching you fix the porch railing and redesign the gardens and work 16-hour days, I fell in love with you, too. My breath caught. What? I'm in love with you, Travis Barrett. And it terrifies me, because everyone I've ever loved has left. My parents. Dorothy. Everyone. I took her hands. I'm not leaving. You say that now. I'm not leaving, I repeated firmly. I gave up a career in Chicago. I gave up a partnership. I gave up the life everyone expected me to have. Because I gestured to the inn, to the ocean, to her, this is where I belong. Tears streamed down Haley's face. Promise me. I promise. Promise me you won't leave when things get hard. Promise me you won't wake up one day and regret giving up your old life. Haley, look at me. I cupped her face in my hands. That old life? I was drowning. Every single day, I felt like I couldn't breathe. And then I came here. I met you, and for the first time in my entire life, I feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. Travis, I love you. Not just because you're beautiful, which you are, not just because you're smart and tough and funny, but because when I'm with you, I'm the best version of myself, the version I always wanted to be, but never knew how. Haley laughed through her tears. You're really good with words for an architect. I've been practicing that speech for 2 months. 2 months. I've loved you since January. When you told Gordon his measurements were wrong, and he tried to argue, and you pulled out a tape measure and proved it. Haley laughed. That was a good day. Every day with you is a good day. She looked at me for a long moment, then kissed me, her hands in my hair, my arms around her waist, the taste of salt air and paint and coffee, the feeling of finally coming home. When we finally pulled apart, Haley was smiling, really smiling, the kind I'd only glimpsed before. So what happens now? She asked. Now we finish the inn. We open in April. We build something beautiful. Together. Together, she repeated. I like the sound of that. Me too. We stood there on the dock as the sun finished setting, the driftwood and behind us, the Pacific stretching endlessly ahead, and I thought about Dorothy, about the choice she'd handed me. Choose the unexpected. I had, and it had led me here, to this place, to this woman, to exactly the life I was always meant to live. April arrived, and with it the Driftwood Inn's reopening, fully restored, all 12 rooms updated, gardens in full bloom, the dock rebuilt. We kept the name, added a plaque, in memory of Dorothy Sullivan. My parents came for the opening, nervous at first, worried I'd come to regret abandoning my career. But once they saw the inn, saw me with Haley, saw the way I smile now, they understood. She would be so proud, Mom said, looking at Dorothy's photo in the lobby. I hope so, I said. 1 year after Dorothy died, I stood in that same Chicago coffee shop where she'd first approached me, back for a weekend visiting friends, closing out my old apartment lease. Working on my laptop, now designing custom projects for small inns and historic buildings, I felt something entirely different from what I'd felt that same time a year earlier. Something like coming full circle. Have you ever received advice that completely reshaped your life? Have you ever taken a risk that seemed reckless at the time, but turned out to be exactly what you needed? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If this story about second chances, unexpected inheritances, and finding your true path moved you, hit that like button and subscribe for more stories about choosing the unexpected, honoring legacies, and discovering who you're meant to be. Don't forget to click the notification bell so you never miss our next story.